Okay, One Piece chapter 1147. Boys and girls, this is where we say the plot definitely thickened. When I tell you I read this chapter so fast, holy Oda, good job. Good job. Like, we knew going in, like, okay, so this is how Oda's going to do it. He's going to use the kids as bait, but to actually see it being put on display for us, this was good. And like the fact that like we end the chapter off with Nico Robin and Gabon getting ready to throw down here for different reasons, beautiful. And like the symbolism here, because when you look at it, it's the past, present, and future all on display, because that library represents the present day for Elbaf, but Gabon is going out there in order to fight for the future, the children. Nico Robin is getting ready to go out there to fight for the past, because everything that was on her island is about to be burned down. Oda, like the symbolism is so good here. Like I've always said, like when I first started going through and I started reading One Piece, I was like, man, there are a lot of moments of accidental brilliance. But then as I got deeper and deeper into the story, I kept going, okay, nah, this is playing out. This has got to be intentional. And I just love it. Like with manga, different artists do incorporate different aspects of writing to them, but you don't always see the well thought out symbolism. And Oda's done it so much that I can't sit there and say this by mistake. You know, a lot of times you'll read something like, he didn't know what he was. No, yeah, this motherfucker knows what he was doing, man. So let me back up real quick. Let me back up and go through the chapter itself based off the memory I got, because man, there's a lot in this one, man. So first of all, I like how we get like the brief flashback that just doubles down on the fact that Saul told Nico Robin stay hidden, and as Sommers is looking over everything, he's like, man, you know, can't believe that there were actually two survivors of Ohara. And he's like, the Navy did a sloppy job here. And like the irony is not lost on me as a reader, because he's complaining about the Navy doing a sloppy job, and yet there's Nico Robin hiding in plain sight. He missed Nico Robin the same way that the Navy did, outside of Aokiji, obviously, but he made the same mistake. And so you're this holy knight, you're supposed to be above everyone else, and yet you're making the exact same mistake. Beautiful. That is a great case of dramatic irony here. And that's where we see Sommers talking to Gunko, and he's like, so you captured the Straw Hats. You're not going to take them with us, are you? And Sommers is like, you know, I really need to know this. And Gunko is like, man, I'm not trying to get in a situation where Straw Hat Luffy is furious. And it's like, okay, once Luffy goes Gear 5, he's going to put the fear of God into her. But this is where, after we get the hilarious scene where Nami, like, I can't call it gaslighting. I'll never call it gaslighting. But Nami's like, how could you let this happen, Jinbe? It's like, bitch, you were there too. But Jinbe is like, man, you know, that woman, there's something about her. You know, I'm pretty sure that I've seen her before. That's basically what he's getting at. And so Gunko pulls out her sword and she puts it in the Brook's face. And for the first time ever, Brook is in prime position to ask, can I see your panties? And he doesn't do it. And it's because Gunko puts her foot on this man's chin, tilts him all the way back. And she says, I want you to start writing songs for me. That's what you're going to do from now on. You're going to be my slave. And I kind of like, the reaction of the Straw Hats here. In particular, I like how Jinbe is like, man, that's like a nightmare of a fan there. But the reason why I did, like, again, more symbolism here is, let's just take a moment to look at who is there as this is being said. Nami was basically a slave to Arlong. Jinbe was a slave to Big Mom. You have Gunko basically trying to make Jinbe a slave. And what I like, not Jinbe, but Brook a slave. And what I like here is that Brook basically doubles down, and it's another test of loyalty towards Luffy. And it just speaks volumes about how Luffy is as a captain, that his people are willing to stand up for him like this. Because he says, like, ever since Luffy gave me a second life, ever since Luffy gave me a reason to live, I'm dedicated only to him. I can't write songs about you. The songs, and I'm putting words in his mouth here, but he's basically saying the only songs that I can write moving forward are the songs about my captain. And I love that. Like, this is just like with Nami and with what happened out there at Wano. When Kaido was basically like, y'all gotta pledge your loyalty to me. When Nami was fighting Ulti, it was the same thing. Luffy's going to be the king of the pirates. I'm going to ride and die with him. And so it's Brook's turn to carry that forward. And so when he says, I would rather die than live without honor, first and foremost, when that is animated, somebody let me know when that's done, because I will skip ahead to see this scene. Because when I tell you, when I read this, that scene just resonated with me, it touched me. Because I'm big on loyalty. And like, that's a type of loyalty that you don't necessarily see a lot. Like, you see it in battle shonen, especially battle shonen like One Piece, where Nakama is a real big thing. You know, your comrades, your friends, your family, etc. No Dom Toretto, but it's one of those things where, like, it's still very refreshing because it just speaks volumes to how this knuckleheaded pirate named Luffy has come so far and had such a big impact that it's not just the people that are following him that are part of that Straw Hat Alliance, but it's the people that's there with him on a day-to-day that know him the best. It's the people that they could lead their own crews if they want to. They choose to fall in line for him. That is, like, the more I keep looking at how Luffy's leadership has been written, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm gonna be very curious to see what happens when Luffy meets his dad again. But after Gunko kicks Brook across the battlefield, and you get that hilarious moment where you have Sommers like, look, I'm not trying to mix it up with the king of the not king of pirates. I'm giving Luffy his title too early. I'm not trying to mix it up with one of the four emperors as well. We got a job to do. Like, let's just get out of here right now. And Sommers is touching back base with Killingham. And then that's where Killingham is like, okay, everything is set up. And so Sommers gives this heartbreaking address to everybody on Elbaf. And he lets them know, hey, we're the ones that are behind all this. We are the Holy Knights. And he explains the fact that, like, we're behind everything that is taking place. We have 10 of your children. They are our hostages. We have defeated Saul. He doesn't say Saul by name. And that kind of goes back to, again, the Holy Knights view themselves as being above everybody else, just like the Celestial Dragons. And what I like there is that it's just a further, this is not a person. This is a subject. This is an object. They view themselves as above humanity. I love that. I absolutely love that. Again, like, just given, like, look at where the Celestial Dragons live. They're above humanity. And, like, now we know there's a deeper meaning to that, but it's just the small things that keep adding up and they keep building on the personification of the different characters. And so as he starts naming off the names, like, we get the reaction to the different kids and everything. And I did like how Colin is, you know, trying to take charge and say, like, I'm a warrior. I'm not a crybaby weakling like the rest of you guys. And it does show that some of that warrior spirit, it'll never truly die. But this is where I'm, like, so sick to my stomach, because I thought, like, maybe Oda would position the kids to fight, and maybe he does. But Oda, as he always does, he hits you with the heavy hand and the soft hand. You know, we see that one of the great fears was the wife and the mother, and that was absolutely hilarious. But after Sommers names the kids, he says, like, look, like, you guys are going to serve us as slaves in battle. If you don't, then I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to use those kids. We're not sending the kids to the battlefield. We're going to kill them off one by one. The time is for you guys to do what we're saying. And this is where the cruelty comes into play. It makes it a no-win situation, because he says, like, your school is useless. Your library, it is useless. Burn everything down, swear your loyalty to us, And then he makes Chief Jarul be the one that has to make the call here. Does he preserve these things? If he does, then we're going to kill the kids. If he stands on business, then he loses the future and he has to live with that shame of I let these kids die. And yet, if he sells out his people, he saves the kids, but he regresses everything that Elbaf has blossomed into. And as he's saying, like, you need to make a decision, we get a very beautiful shot of Nico Robin where you can't even see her eyes, but you see her shaking. Like, this is going to be so damn good animated because you don't see Nico Robin get super pissed off a lot, but it's with the panels like this where I swear to God, she reminds me of my sister here. Like, the people that are in the Patreon Discord server, they know. They know. Like, I joke about Nico Robin, but it's because she reminds me of my sister so much. The way that Nico Robin just flips that switch and it's done as a quiet anger before she fully explodes, that is 100% how my sister does it. And Nico Robin's like, I'm not going to let them do this. And it's the same thing. Gabon, he's running through and he's like, look, I'm not going to let them do this either. And you just look at how this has been done. The children that they picked out were all intentional. This is a battlefield strategic move. They don't want all the giants. They have specific ones that they want. Like, this is the cruelty of One Piece. And I mean that in all respect. Because at the end of the day, this is cruel. And yet it is very beautiful writing because of what Oda is saying here about what it means to be human. Because as a leader, you have to make tough decisions. And that's what Jarul's going to have to do. And yet at the same time, and I know I pronounced the name wrong, so forgive me for that. But the other thing I like about this is that part of being a leader is what do you do when you are thrust into an unexpected situation? How do you respond? That's what we're seeing with Nico Robin and with Gabon. This is so beautiful. And again, it fits into the theme of this chapter, I would argue, the past, present, and the future. Nico Robin represents both the present as well as the future because Luffy's crew is the future King of the Pirates crew. And Gabon obviously used to be on the King of the Pirates crew. So the past, present, and the future. This is beautiful. This is so beautiful. So my chapter question, you guys, is going to be a subjective one, which is, what do you guys call the theme of this chapter? What would you boil it down to if you had to put it in one sentence? As always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.